Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. I want to talk about a monumental change happening in Star Citizen, a new feature that is going to change cargo and the logistics of how you move around in the verse and how you buy stuff and all that sort of jazz. So cargo elevators, freight elevators are coming to Star Citizen Alpha 3.23, which is the next major patch, and that's going to change the way that you buy everything and sell everything moving forward. Maybe not everything, but a lot of your stuff. I want to talk about exactly what we're getting with this feature, with this implementation, and the various dev responses that have touched on this topic already. Persistent hangars and freight elevators. When you purchase cargo with Alpha 3.23, you'll need to load that cargo onto your ship. So you'll buy it at landing zone, you'll go to your hangar, then you'll go to the freight kiosk there, you'll push some buttons on it, load up basically what you want to come up in your cargo elevator from the cargo that you've bought or whatever else is at the landing zone. That will come up in the nearby elevator, and then you'll be able to load that onto your ship using your various tools for that, be that some hover trolleys, which are also appear to be in the patch as well, and that you'll just sort of have access to, but also your tractor beams, potentially the tractor beams on your ship as well, not just ones by hand. Cargo is no longer going to auto-spawn and despawn in your ship, and then when you sell it, despawn, so you're going to have to load it and unload it yourself. When you want to sell cargo, you will have to bring the ship to the landing zone with the cargo in it, and then call up that elevator again, take your cargo from your ship, put it in the elevator, and then store it at the landing zone. You can then sell it at a trade kiosk. Vehicles can also be called up and put into storage via this method. This partially solves the issue of vehicle in ship spawning. Obviously, it's a little bit different if you're talking about sort of snubs and other ships, putting them in other ships. But cargo and vehicles should be saved on your ship between sessions, as long as they're safely stored in a hangar. Obviously, reclaiming a ship wipes the cargo, as well as other ships and vehicles also inside. This should all work pretty well with the long-term persistence database, and should be saved between patches that don't receive full wipes. At least that is what I believe. That is what all the evidence points to. This is a monumental change to cargo gameplay, but also general prep for players and groups before missions. So you can all go to the same hangar, load stuff up. Want to change some of the equipment on your ship, well, you can call it up in the cargo elevator, the freight elevator, and then literally attach it to your ship using a tractor beam. Obviously, this will lean more into engineering gameplay and lots of other stuff once we have it, but this is a good starting step for it. With cargo, though, time is now going to be a big factor with loading and unloading, and sensible loading will save you time later, because when you come to unload stuff, you don't have to move so much stuff around. Cargo prices will hopefully reflect this in game. It's a lot more time. There's a lot more of an investment of your gameplay session. We do know there is a big economy update in 3.23 besides this as well, with a pricing update and new shopping app, stuff like that. Interestingly, as well, CIG have already shown off a freight elevator at an outpost on the surface of the moon in a sneak peek. So basically, this isn't just contained within hangars at landing zones, you can also have these above ground. That makes sense, because you want this to be as normalized as possible. You want to buy cargo from an outpost, well, you've got to load it onto your ship still. And you want to sell that outpost, you've got to unload it from your ship and put it somewhere. We don't know exactly how that's going to work for settlements, because some of these places might not have traditional cargo elevators, but there might be like a depot or something you can drop stuff in. I don't really know yet, is what I'm telling you with settlements, but this brought up some questions about pad ramming and concerns about griefers ruining your day. Not pirates, but people that want to blow both of you up for no profit other than the lols. CIG's Rich Tyree was talking about this in the chat of one of Salty Mike's streams. So he said, "We will be addressing pad ramming, unwanted attention in lawful systems with new systems such as security and eventually planetary shield technology, which will shield you from damage." So they've never talked about this before. It sounds like you will effectively be invulnerable in certain areas when you're moving cargo. Now, will that be in all areas? Will that be in if you're trying to trade in pyro? maybe not. But it does make sense. I don't want someone exploiting or doing something silly to be able to get into a landing zone hangar either and blow up one of my ships or pad ram me somehow. So I'm fine with them gamifying some of these systems to go, it can't happen. He did go on to say it's less about pirates and more about griefers. Piracy is legitimate gameplay. So I'm glad that he cleared that up because it is legitimate gameplay. I don't want griefing. So if people are just blowing them, both you and themselves up, that to me is unlikely to be a pirate. That said, I do want a good mix of PvE, PvP, piracy, lots of zones where there is a higher risk versus reward that you're much more likely to encounter PvP. I want areas where there's much more likely that you're going to just have a PvE experience, or even quite a sheltered, shielded experience in some systems where it goes, well, you are pretty much safe in these areas from getting shanked or suddenly ambushed and surprised. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. You don't have to agree with me. In fact, you can disagree with me in the comments, and that's what I like about Star Citizen, a bit of a melting pot of ideas at the moment throughout Alpha that hopefully will evolve to make a genuinely great game. Let's jump into some of the Spectrum threads and dev responses with cargo elevators in mind. There was a thread, new cargo elevators. Saw the new cargo elevators are likely coming in 3.23. How will that work with the Hull C? If we need to manually load the Hull C by hand, would we get access to things like an MPUV's cargo ability to carry the big boxes or the rafts? Chad McKinney responded here, the Hull C loading system is unique in the game, and unfortunately, because of the immense scope of what we're trying to achieve for 3.23, we've pushed back manual loading support for the Hull C and similar docking-only style ships, Hull E, etc., to a later patch. But the current automated loading for the Hull C will continue to work as it is. So, interestingly, suggested that the Hull E might be turning up in 3.23. I don't think it is. I think that was just him explaining, so anything that uses a similar method of loading like the Hull C would also effectively all turn up in a patch later. There was a follow-up question, but doesn't the Hull C loading not even work now? So how would it continue to work? Maybe I'm out of the loop. Chad responded here, I am assuming you're memeing here, but I'll bite. We are well aware of some stability issues with the Hull C loading, and we look to harden the system where possible, though as you will see the scope of the upcoming changes, so we're constantly having to make hard decisions about when and how to spend resources. My point isn't that the system is bug-free, but rather the current cargo transfer methodology used in the game for the Hull C in 3.23 won't be augmented or modified. Fair. Yeah, it is an inconsistent game loop at the moment with the Hull C, and obviously problems with docking and that sort of jazz. There was also a thread, Alpha 3.23 Anvil Carrack cargo pod access? ? Hey there, CIG, just wondering with the upcoming release of 3.23 containing the first implementation of physicalizing cargo and freight elevators, and an overall haul of the cargo loop, what will happen to the Anvil Carrack? Currently, there's no way to physically access the Carrack's cargo as the pods do not open, so I'd like to know, with this first implementation of the physicalized cargo and freight, will we see cargo pod access for the Carrack? Or should we maybe just prepare ourselves for the upcoming update, making the Carrack unusable for cargo hauling in 3.23? Chad responded here, there's a lot of decisions made about ships over the years which didn't anticipate these changes in cargo. We've been working closely with the vehicle teams to raise issues, but there will still be ships in 3.23 which won't be able to fully benefit from the new cargo system until revisited later. That said, it won't be that they're unusable, just less efficient for manual loading. You'll be able to haul smaller boxes, but find issues with the larger 8 SCU Plus type boxes. Additionally, working on support for automated loading options for all ships for locations that support it, so you won't be able to fully utilize it for manually hauling there, but there will still be a path for you to get your space trucking on. Really glad that they talked about that. Really glad that they said, look, there is going to be a level of automated loading options for ships in locations that support it, at least in the future. So that sort of makes sense. Probably costs associated with that, right? And time while the facilities deal with you rather than you doing it manually. There was a follow-up question here. The original concept of the Carrack already had cargo pods that were able to open from the side for manual loading. How could you say that changes on cargo were not anticipated when the concept idea itself perfectly fits these changes? Chad replied again here. I said decisions. That doesn't necessarily mean just original concept or design, but also covers development decisions about functionality, currently operational, or art decisions about metrics. My point is, as you said, not everything in 3.23 is going to be the best experience we want. And like many other things, it comes down to time and just trying to make the decisions we think for now will have the most impact. Work will continue from here though. I thought that was really good to know as well. So obviously not all ships are going to be perfectly functional with that new cargo system. There is going to be some ships which you're not really going to be able to effectively move the giant cargo containers on and off, which might be a bit annoying. Hopefully it's not going to be any focused cargo ships that have that problem. If it's sort of like just the Carrack and things like that, then I'm going to be a lot more, okay, it's annoying but reasonable. The final thread, freight elevators and the Reclaimer. I've got a number of concerns regarding the planned release of freight elevator system and the continued use of the Reclaimer. Instead of being able to sell these directly from the ship at the terminal, my understanding is that each box will have to be individually loaded onto the Reclaimer's small and slow elevator, brought out of the ship and loaded onto a freight elevator. If the Reclaimer had large bay doors like the Hercules, that would not be an issue, but a dozen, 16 SU boxes out of the Reclaimer, that's going to take ages and be frustrating with tractor beam usage. Are there plans to further develop the Reclaimer to address these issues? Chad again replied, my answer for the Carrack is the same for the Reclaimer. That said, one thing I will add is not all ships should be great for cargo, and part of 3.23 is to further differentiate the ships and locations in the game in the cargo loop. That means some ships won't be as effective as others, especially those which were intentionally designed for cargo. You got a good cargo ship, it's going to be better, typically, than another ship that's not designed for cargo. Makes sense. Really like the fact that Chad sort of set some expectations there for, yes, obviously still work in progress, Star Citizen's now, for some big changes here, but it's going to still require some refinement. Not all ships are fully supported yet, and not all ships will be getting all of the same sort of features as other ships. Boom! That's it for your updates today about freight elevators and Alpha 3.23. I am really interested to know what you think. Are you excited for those changes? Do you think it's going to really change the game with cargo missions and loading, unloading, making a load of potential more money? Do you think that this gameplay is something that you are excited for? It's going to be fun, or is it going to just be annoying and fiddly and actually turns you off of the cargo profession? Whatever your thoughts or questions, I would love to hear from you in the comments below. People always ask me, what's your favourite ship? And I always answer, it's NordVPN with its powerful loadout. It wrecks pros and noobs alike. I can cruise around the verse with the added security that online threats aren't as much of a big deal. It also deals with intrusive ads like this one and gives you a greater accessibility to content you may want to watch on other platforms. I can watch Japanese Netflix. Is that even a thing? Maybe. You can find out with NordVPN. It is worth mentioning that CIG and Star Citizen don't actually produce a NordVPN ship yet, but NordVPN is available separately from the links below, and clicking those does help me buy spaceships, so it's basically the same thing, right? Go to nordvpn.com/BoredGamer. Get Nord, give ships. I don't know. That's an amazing promo. Every month, we give away a ship for Star Citizen. For February 2024, we're giving away a Drake Corsair Explorer with lifetime insurance and a game package. Everything you need to play and explore Star Citizen in style. All you need to do to be in for a chance of winning that is comment on any of my videos made during this month. It is as easy as that. More details in the comments below. A massive thank you to everyone that goes the extra mile in supporting the channel. It is with your support we are able to make daily Star Citizen videos. If you want to be one of those lovely people, then please check out the join button under my videos. That will help you become a channel member. There's Patreon, there's direct donations. All the links for all of that are down below. But there are loads of non-monetary ways you can help support us. Commenting, sharing, liking, all of that sort of stuff goes a huge way in helping the channel grow. Thank you so much for watching to the end, and you have a great day.